That's exactly what happens.
Mm.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bit of a worry. That's why we don't get any funding from the government at all, never.
If you're fighting big legal cases, you must have a decent source of funding, though.
We get a lot of stuff done for us for free, like our solicitors are working pro bono, and our barrister is only charging us $2,000 a day. And if I need any money for anything like that, I just hit the zoo up and they provide it.
So that's the Australia Zoo.
Mm.
So I understood that they provided you with an office and your administration costs. I didn't realise they'd actually provide you with barristers' fees.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
If I don't make a feast of it, but they, like this is their house, it's their house, and I've got it for as long as I want it.
So we have Steve Irwin and his wife to thank for this.
Yeah. Terry and Frank, the bloke that runs the zoo, and Wes. But I don't make, and if I want money for anything, I just put it in a budget. I put a budget in at the beginning of every month, and the money's there in about 3 days. The check's there. Whatever I want. They've never ever questioned what I want, but I always, I don't make a feast of it. You know, I always.
You must have woken up one day and thought that the fairies had been.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
What happened? Tell us about. Well, where did you go from to this? Where you one day you went to bed with no money like most environmentalists and at the end of your tether, and then the next day you woke up and what?
I was the president of the Wildlife Preservation Society of Queensland.
Yes.
And I was based in central Queensland, and I was having lots of arguments with them because they had their head office down here. We had a branch up there. Mm-hmm. They had their head office down here, and they had ridiculous policies, just stupid. They supported the kangaroo kill and all that sort of stuff. So I managed to get a, you wouldn't believe the issues that were there. Anyway, I managed to get I managed to get an article in a wildlife magazine about why we shouldn't be killing kangaroos, and Steve read it and he rang me up and he said, I really believe what you're saying. I support you 100%. He said, how can I help with this? He said, I've written to the government about kangaroos and lots of things and they just ignore us. How can I help? So,
what did you think when you got rung up by Steve Irwin? Was he famous at that time?
I didn't know him. And he said, he didn't even tell me what he was, who he was or anything. He said, look, I've got to go overseas in a few days, so I'll be over there for a couple of weeks. When I come back, I'll get one of my staff to ring you, and can you come down here and have a meeting with us? And I said, yeah, all right. And then it was only a couple of days later I found out that he had a zoo. And I wasn't too impressed because I never liked zoos. I wasn't too impressed with that. So anyway, I talked to our people up there and I said, what do you think? And they said, oh, go down and see what he's got to say. So I came down to the zoo and I spent about 3 days down here, I think. They put me up in the conference centre there and showed me all around the zoo and told me what they were doing, and I had 2 or 3 meetings with Steve and Terry, and that's when we decided to set up this organisation. And Terry said, you just go ahead and set it up and we'll fund it. So that's what happened.
And that was on the basis of what you had to say about how we should not be shooting kangaroos.
Yeah.
You were actually talking against the kangaroo meat industry.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I was the only one that had done it in public. I was the only one that had done it in public.
You and Maryland Wilson, I would think, in Victoria.
Maryland had done a lot of stuff on it, but I was the only one that had done anything in Queensland.
Are you still the only one who's doing anything in Queensland?
Just about. Animal Live in Queensland are doing stuff. The Wildlife Preservation Society of Queensland that I was involved with, they support the industry.
So what do you know about the Australia Zoo and the Irwin family and their success? Do you think it's attributable to the fact that their values are the ones that they espouse publicly?
Yeah, it's also the fact that they are obviously real people. They're real people and they're really committed to what they do. People get so sick of actors on the television that they immediately relate to Steve and Terry as real people, and Benji. So yeah, and they've done an enormous amount for wildlife, and they don't seek publicity for it. A lot of the stuff they do nobody knows about. It just doesn't come out.
Can you tell us of anything that they've done that you know of that hasn't come out?
Well, the Wildlife Hospital I think is the most significant thing. That's public, in the public arena. That's the most significant thing because it's just I think I don't know, they've got 7 or 8 vets working there now full time, and it's just an amazing place. And
Where is it?
It's at the zoo.
Oh.
They're expanding it now. It's currently under expansion now. But yeah, Steve, when he was alive, bought blocks of land. He bought blocks of land all over the place for habitat. One of the blocks they bought, I understand, is an old farming property, so they've employed people to actually plant trees all over it and rehabilitate it. So.
That must be beautiful.
Yeah.
How long have they been buying up land to do that?
For a long time, I think. They've been buying land around the zoo as a buffer zone for a long time, and they just, when they see a nice block of land that is going to be trashed or something, they just grab it and look after it, protect it.
Are they very good business people? Was Steve, I don't know much about him, but I gather that he was the son of a small zookeeper?
When I first went to Australia Zoo, it was called the Biawar Wildlife Park or something then, or something like that. It was probably 35 years ago, and it was just a very small area with a few snakes in it and a crocodile, and that was about it. And it's grown from there. Once Steve and his father put a lot of effort into it, and it's just grown from there.
How do you think that they became so successful? I mean, what I mean, Steve Irwin actually managed to make Australian wildlife and just the cause of wildlife welfare an international prospect in a manner that, I mean, once it was easier to do, like Armin and Michaela Dennis could make you excited about wildlife, but that was 50 years ago or something. How did Steve manage to do it? Was he just lucky in getting a contract with whatever, I don't have cable, but did he just luck on connections, do you think?
I think it was just, he was just so natural, and people realised that he was a real person, and he was doing things that people like to see, like playing with, well, not playing, but picking up snakes, picking up lizards and explaining things, and he was so expressive, and I think that's what did it. It's just, it was just Steve. That's what he was like, that's what he did.
Okay, what did you think when you heard of his death?
I was just devastated, like everyone was. I was just devastated, couldn't believe it. And I had people ringing me up for interviews and stuff like that, and I said, I'm sorry, I just can't talk about this. It's just, everyone was just devastated, couldn't believe it. I mean, we all used to, I think everyone used to say, yeah, well, one of these days Steve would probably get eaten by a crocodile or something, but nobody expected it to happen. It was just devastating.
Are you reassured at the moment that everything is going on despite the fact that he's dead?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. There's no way in the world that Terry will let any of Steve's projects fall over. And no way the staff either will. Everyone is really keen and committed to make sure that all Steve's projects come to fruition.
I was at the Australia Zoo, as you know, the other day. It was my first visit, and it did seem to be functioning very smoothly, and all the staff did seem dedicated. They obviously have fantastic jobs compared to most zoo workers' jobs. They have real profiles, real... well, I suppose once again it's obviously a zoo that is dedicated to enhancing the creatures' lives there.
Yep,
and educating people.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And also they've got like the tigers area and the elephants, they play great music to them, but they have these great statues. Have you seen those statues? I don't know where your office is, but it's just a great area. And they actually walk the tigers around on leashes out in the open fields that are attached to the zoo but aren't part of the zoo itself. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. Yeah.
And the animals have 2/3 area that the public don't see, and they don't actually have to come out and perform.
No.
If they want to stay behind, they can.
That's right.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, the animals are just, they're just so well looked after. It's just incredible. And I just love the elephants too.
Yes. And they have this statue of the elephant god, and they play. It's lovely. Yeah.